Happy Boxing Day to all viewers and subscribers of D&J Drives. Today is Thursday, the 26th of December, 2024. It is currently 28 degrees Celsius and it is 10:25 a.m. We're doing a drive to San Fernando today, and we're starting in Woodbrook at the Augustus Williams Woodbrook playing ground, and we are currently on Robert Street, making our way to San Fernando, the city of San Fernando. This area is well known for nightlife, street food. We're turning up Alfredo Street in Woodbrook, off Robert Street, and turning on to Tragarete Road. On Tragarete Road, we pass the Queen's Park Oval on the right, and ahead of us we can see the One Woodbrook Place on the left. That's one of the three towers. Today is going to be a nice quiet day for this drive because it's a public holiday. Ahead of us there's what was the Roxy Cinema, but it's now Pizza, and ahead of us there is the Lord Kitchener statue. We're going to take this roundabout again to capture that. Not quite a roundabout, but oblong about. So we have Pizza Hut here, which used to be the Roxy Cinema, and ahead of us, if you can see, is the statue to Lord Kitchener. Here is the Nelson Mandela Park, formerly the King George V Park, and we are now on St. Clair Avenue. As we back the oval to our right, this is the back of one of the stands, and we're making our way all the way to the Queen's Park Savannah, a very well-known green area in Trinidad. Government buildings to the right as we pass Grey Street, Royal Bank to the right, Queen's Royal College playing field on the left, and we are hitting the Queen's Park Savannah, joining at Maraval Road onto the St. Clair roundabout, and this is the Savannah. This is essentially Maraval Road, but we are turning off into St. Clair now. So Queen's Royal College to our left, and this is Hayes Street. Takes you all into St. Clair. St. Clair is a very affluent area which is home to many embassies, such as the Indian High Commission on our right there, and a lovely house, private dwelling right next door. Japanese High Commission there on the right. Well, the right of this YWCA. Government building here to the left is where the Prime Minister operated her office, Kamla Persad Bissessar, when she was Prime Minister and the official office was under renovation. That's where she operated from. And this is the IDB here. We're back on Sinclair Avenue. And this guy probably owns the road, who knows. Wow. So this is the oval again, and you can see that same tower for One Woodbrook Place, King George Nelson Mandela Park on the right, formerly King George V. Back onto Tragarete Road. That's the Pizza Hut ahead there. That used to be the Roxy Cinema, very popular cinema in its time. Kappa Drugs. Damien Street, and all along the right is One Woodbrook Place. This used to be a dump right here, believe it or not, and it's now home to, well, let me rephrase that, it's now a very affluent residential facility. So Damien Street meets Warren Street, which feeds into Robert Street, where we started today's drive. Street now, we just continued straight. This is Ariapita Avenue. We're turning right. Nice quiet streets to facilitate today's drive. Boxing Day, everybody home. So this is the end of Ariapita Avenue, and it's taking us right to the National Stadium to our left as we make our way along Maraval Parkway to get into the left lane, because the right lane takes us into Diego Martin and Pitti Valley and Chagaramas. Left lane will take us into downtown Port of Spain. So we will turn on to the Audrey Jeffers Highway. That's the Marriott ahead of us there, Movie Town. Audrey Jeffers Highway. You can see downtown Port of Spain from here. So the road network is very simple. Audrey Jeffers Highway going on to Wrightson Road, on to Beetham Highway as we make our way to San Fernando. Beetham Highway will feed into the Churchill-Roosevelt Highway. Wrightson Road. To the left is Woodbrook. All of the roads feeding into Woodbrook. This is Alberto Street, there's Alfredo Street, Anna Street. All of these streets in Woodbrook give you are well named, and it's like a cross section, up, down, and across, with Wrightson Road on this end, Ariapita Avenue in the center, that's Carlos Street that we just passed, and then Tragarete Road on the other end. So Woodbrook is within Tragarete Road, Ariapita Avenue, and Wrightson Road. This is French Street here on the left. French Street goes all the way up to Tragarete Road, and then if you were to continue straight, it goes on to Maraval Road. But Maraval Road is one way, so you can't drive all the way. This is Colville Street on the left. And here you can see the beautiful, or the beginning of the beautiful downtown Port of Spain. To the extreme right is the Hyatt, and all of the other buildings that you see are government buildings. It's secure. So my son and I mapped out this drive as a sort of a Christmas special. Obviously we couldn't do it on Christmas Day because of all of the various family events, of which there's one today as well, but we are coming out early to do this special drive for you, our treasured viewers and subscribers. So if you're watching us for the first time, D&J Drives was set up to explore and showcase the road network in Barbados. This is really a Barbados project, but from time to time we are in Trinidad, and we've been doing videos or drives from the broadcasting from the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. So from the Republic of Barbados to the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. Two republics. So we hope our Barbadian viewers, who are the majority of our subscribers, are enjoying this drive. Just where you see the traffic lights ahead, there is where the Beetham Highway begins. The Beetham Highway was named for a former governor. So remember, Trinidad was, and Tobago, Trinidad was colonized by several countries, but most notably prior to independence it was colonized by the Brits, and the governors were very powerful because they represented the sovereign. And Governor Beetham was a well-known governor, and this highway, which we're about to join just after this lighthouse here by the traffic lights that you can see a bit closer now. Earlier I referred to the traffic lights, but I meant these ahead, not the ones that were right ahead of us when I first referred to traffic lights. This is the lighthouse on the right, similar to the lighthouse in Christchurch, Barbados. And here we've joined the Beetham Highway, named for late Governor Beetham. Of course, this was a British personality. So, as Republic of Trinidad and Tobago is, there are still many streets and buildings named for former governors and former places of interest for the many sovereign powers that governed us, both in Trinidad and in Tobago. And of course, they were both governed as independent islands before we became one grouping of Trinidad and Tobago. So throughout the country you can find British names, French names, Dutch names, Spanish names, and thank God all of that came to an end in the 1960s, 1962, when the country became an independent state. Trinidad and Tobago, 1962. And then in 1976, a republic. So we are on the Beetham Highway. And this goes sort of east-west. But for this drive we will be all along the west. The west coast. West coast of Trinidad and Tobago. You all can see all of this garbage to the left. This is the Beetham Estate, a residential area, very low income. The garbage is collected. You can see the volume of garbage being generated here. Garbage is collected at least twice a week, sometimes 3 times a week. That's a very low income area. This gas station is very convenient, but when you have to rejoin the highway, it's a major task, because this is a major highway and it's hard to pop out onto it. All along the left here is the Beetham Estate, a Beetham residential area. Some might want to say Beetham Gardens. There's a police car on the right. That's to control the speeding. We took this road to the left, that takes us into Barataria. But we are staying on the highway. Which leads into the Churchill-Roosevelt Highway. So if you stayed on this road, Beetham into Churchill-Roosevelt, it can take you all up to Arima and to Wallerfield. And herein begins the Churchill-Roosevelt. And in that area there was an old US, where the highway ends, an old US base. So this was all, now this is these people do some crazy things on the road. Yes, the Churchill-Roosevelt Highway, because of World War II, when Winston Churchill was Prime Minister, and Roosevelt was President of the United States. There were some treaties and agreements with respect to having a US base here, because remember, of course, Trinidad and Tobago at the time, a colony of, well, Trinidad was a colony of Great Britain, as it was called, and there was an agreement between the US and British governments to have a US base here, and this highway is consequently named for those two leaders. President Roosevelt and Prime Minister Churchill. So this is the Churchill-Roosevelt Highway, and that's just a bit of history there in terms of the name of the highway. We always like to, as you know from our Barbados drives, we always like to explain how roads got their names. It always makes for very interesting discussion. That's just the way that people globally honor people, by naming schools and places and things after them. You can see all of the walkovers and flyovers. The road network in Trinidad is very, very intricate and quite impressive, if I may say so. So you can't, or you shouldn't, cross these highways, just run across, but unfortunately some people do at their own risk, and several people have been knocked down and killed doing so. So we're approaching Wrightson, staying on the Churchill-Roosevelt Highway though. There are so many places of interest, but in the essence of time we just have to do some straight drives today. We can't deviate too much. The aim is to get to San Fernando, and we have to turn onto this big flyover here off the Churchill-Roosevelt. This is still a piece of Churchill-Roosevelt. You can see this very impressive flyover here. And it's kind of steep. It affords you a lovely view of the Wrightson area, all out to Mount St. Benedict on the left, mountain range there. At this point you can look at the intricacy of the network here. And then we descend onto the Uriah Butler Highway, formerly called the Princess Margaret Highway, but it was renamed for Uriah Butler. And there's a parallel here with Barbados. Uriah Butler was a Grenadian-born Trinidadian who became a labor leader. He was some sort of Baptist Shouter Baptist preacher, I believe, subject to correction. And the parallel to Barbados is that he led the way in terms of those famous 1930s riots, similar to what occurred in Barbados at that time. This is the guy in Trinidad who did it for Trinidad. I think his first name is Tubal. It begins with a T, but Uriah Butler, aka Uriah Buzz Butler, because his nickname was Buzz. And this part of the highway is named for him, bringing about social change in the 1930s by planning and executing several riots during the 1930s. And of course, you all know that those riots in the 1930s are what gave rise to the Moyne Commission, UK Moyne Commission, which eventually led to social change. So in Barbados, there's a monument erected in honor of people who were arrested and even died during those riots in Barbados. And one such monument is in Callender's Christchurch, which is a bit of a tourist attraction, or it used to be before some controversy arose with a man claiming to be family to the original owner of the area, and he set up his dwelling around the monument, so it has taken away from its splendor. But the 1930s represents a very important period in the history of Trinidad and Tobago and Barbados, and of course other islands. And you can see the highways here are 3-lane highways, and at some points on various highways they become 4 lanes, and then even 5 lanes if you turn the turn-off lane. So the road network in Trinidad is very impressive and very intricate, very complex, to the point where many people get around by using Waze and Google. The speed limit on the highway is 100, and you know, there have been so many changes. For example, anyone who knows Trinidad, you all may be familiar with the K-Donna drive-in. Well, that whole area there, you used to come down the Churchill-Roosevelt Highway and make a left into Wrightson. You can no longer do that. You have to take a turn off and do all sorts of things to get into Wrightson by that Cureb Junction, K-Donna. So a lot of Trinidadians move around now with Waze or some sort of navigation system. And the highway, sometimes, as you can just see, it's uneven, because, as my son likes to say, because of the formation of this piece of rock with all of the oil and natural gas and the plates, it causes the land to move, making the road dip at different places. See all of the development, both left on the left side and the right side. Many changes on this island over the years. camera can't take it too deep to the left, but there's major development on both sides. So anyone who's left Trinidad a long time ago would hardly recognize it now. And a long time, I'm not meaning 80 years, I'm talking 20, 30 years. Major development in this country. If you can look to the left right now, you can see all of these buildings here were either modernized or recently erected. You could see Chief brand products, that's where you get your black pepper and other products. Chief is a big brand in Trinidad. Driving towards us. That's another road on the side. So if you were to exit the highway, then you can use those lanes to go north and south, depending on where you want to get to. So this Uriah Butler Highway is a north-south highway. You can use this to get to the belly of south and even to the south coast. As you can see from the sign there, we're approaching Endeavour, Caroni. Look at the lovely buildings on the left. And the thing is, in Trinidad, when one refers to west, they literally mean, if you hear someone say, well, I'm from the west, or he living in the west, that is because they're referring to places like Diego Martin, Maraval and that type of thing. But really and truly, the west goes all the way from Port of Spain down to San Fernando and beyond. We are going to San Fernando on this drive, and the west takes you along the west coast, and the sea to the west of Trinidad is called the Gulf of Paria, and on the east is the Atlantic Ocean. You can see here the exit to Chaguanas, and look at that whole development there, all of that development. And then when we get to Chaguanas is a major town. We refer to Caroni. Caroni is a major town. Caroni was well known for the sugar company and the heart of the UNC. That's where the UNC found its first home, in Caroni. Bastio Pandy, the late Bastio Pandy, was a member of parliament for one of the constituencies in Caroni, and when he broke away from the NAR, the National Alliance for Reconstruction, headed by A.N.R. Robinson, he formed the UNC in the belly of Caroni. Caroni is a very well-established town, maybe about, sorry, I'm saying Caroni, I'm saying Couva. 50,000 residents approximately. Flyover. And here we go into Chaguanas. This left turn can take you into Chaguanas as well. And you can see this clock on the highway here to the right. That is the point where the Uriah Butler Highway ends. And then we begin the Sir Solomon Hochoy Highway. Who is Sir Solomon Hochoy? A Jamaican-born Trinidadian of Chinese descent who was the first. Oh, look, there's Brentwood coming up. This is a new area as well, well developed. And to the right, you can see that the highway is being extended to change it from a 2-lane. This piece of the highway is 2-lane, but it's being expanded into 3-lane. And there's a whole big mall and housing area to the left here, Brentwood. We'll try to see if we can do a drive just to show you that. There's Massey stores. So I was saying, Sir Solomon Hochoy, he is celebrated because he was the first Caribbean-born governor of a British colony. So he was the last governor of Trinidad and Tobago and the first governor general when the country achieved independence. So Sir Solomon Hochoy and his wife Lady Hochoy were very influential people, and there are different places named for them, such as this, the Sir Solomon Hochoy Highway, the Lady Hochoy Road, the Lady Hochoy Home. And Hochoy is a big name here, but of course he was Jamaican born, just like Uriah Butler was Grenadian born. But in Trinidad, people don't make such distinctions, and Trinidad is a place which is really a melting pot, which receives everybody from everywhere, and it's just like if they're all one. There's very little trace of xenophobia in this country, even though with the influx of Venezuelans, some of it has cropped up, but that has to do with the great exodus of Venezuelans. And entrance here, there are probably over 60,000, my son is correcting me, 60,000 illegal Venezuelans just fleeing Venezuela, mass exodus. And of the neighboring countries, Trinidad is the recipient of the majority, to the point where the government gave an amnesty to allow Venezuelans to just come to be registered, just come and be registered and get a card so that you can be registered, so that the state knows how many Venezuelans are here. They are all over. They come here, they replicate their Venezuelanness over here, leading from the crime to the begging to the laboring, the laborers. They make very good workers. The labor tends to be cheaper, and from what I understand, better, because I haven't hired any Venezuelans or known of anyone, but I understand that the labor is far superior. They work harder. And of course, if you go to many traffic lights around, you can see them with their signs and their babies begging for $1. So that has caused some disquiet in Trinidad, but of course the majority embrace the Venezuelans. Trinidad is a place that embraces everybody. And so you can see the change in society with the integration of the Venezuelans. So Sir Solomon Hochoy, like Sparrow, though not a Trinidadian born, is a big name here. You can see the sign saying Freeport exit. That's another town. Freeport, I think the population is around 12,000, and it's just a town out there on the way to south. Nothing much to say of it, but it goes to the coast. I believe there's a port out there, and that takes you to the Gulf of Paria. Freeport is a very quiet town. And very peaceful. Very friendly as well. Friendly people. So this left, breaking off here from the highway, will take you straight into Freeport. This left right here, and you can see a big facility on the left here for Unicommer. I understand this is where Unicommer houses all of its furniture and equipment that is then shipped to the various Unicommers in the different islands. That's my understanding. Yes, so I hope I didn't confuse anybody earlier when I was talking about the formation of the UNC, the United National Congress, a major political party in Trinidad. I mentioned earlier that it found its home in Couva. But when I was speaking about Couva, I mentioned Caroni and I used them interchangeably. But I meant to say Couva, and probably on a subconscious level, the reason I mixed up Caroni is because Caroni was known for the production of sugar, and the majority of workers would be in sugar would be of East Indian descent. So when that was shut down, it was seen as having some sort of racial connotations because it was shut down under the People's National Movement government, PNM. And if you know anything about the politics of Trinidad and Tobago, the UNC has a tradition of being majority followed by those of the East Indian descent and the PNM of African descent. That is not to say that only Indians follow the UNC and is a UNC is an Indian party or an African party. We have members of all races in both parties, but its origin, Pandey really formed his party originally before the UNC, the ULF, United Labour Front, out of the labor movement. Pandey was a labor leader. And the sugar workers tended to come from there. So as you can see, these signs, left to Couva, left to Point Lisas. And Point Lisas is another port area, industrialized area. there's a big medical facility on the left, Hoover Hospital. I can't remember the official name. Quite an impressive facility. You can see it about now on the left. Just pay attention there to the left of the camera. I hope you're seeing it. Yes, it's in the camera. It's hard for me to look off because I have to concentrate on the road, and I feel as if I'm being a bit disjointed in what I'm saying. But here you can see the Hoover Hospital and multi-training facility. And look at this fabulous view ahead of us. One of my favorite views in Trinidad. I just love this view as we make our way down south. I don't think there are many places in the world where you can see something as beautiful as this. All of the green, the walkover, the descending road, and then quickly ascending. I love to see this. This is one of my favorite views right here. Limit is still 100. And then there's nothing more to be said out here because it's just green both left and right for a little while. But we passed the Point Lisas. I'll tell you a bit of Point Lisas. It's basically just an industrial center. Look at on the left here, you can see. I wonder if we can pull aside a second. So there's nothing much to say here, as I was saying, but Point Lisas is basically an industrial area that is located in Hoover, and it can take you to the coast of the Gulf of Paria. And I was looking for something, but I think I passed it. Anyway, get so caught up because you have to concentrate on this highway. People drive so recklessly, so I have to be very careful, and it's a bit difficult to concentrate on the road while sharing all of the information that I'm trying to, while taking notes from my son, who for some reason doesn't like to speak on these drives or sound his voice. He's done it very infrequently. Look at the left here. Look at that gorgeous green mound. So this is why when we do the Barbados drives, my son and I often refer to the green, because there are so many places in Barbados in its own way, though smaller, could remind one of different parts of Trinidad. Look at these people here. That's an old flyover that you see there, right ahead. Sometimes we make comments, oh, there's a dignitary coming down on the right there. You just saw the flashing blue lights with their formation left and right so that no one could pass for security reasons. Hope the camera picked it up. Just a two-car, should I say, motorcade. So it's probably no one senior, because of course the Prime Minister and the President, they drive with large motorcades, sometimes 10, 12 vehicles. Quite different from Barbados, where the President and the Prime Minister's vehicles just drive by themselves unless going to some official function where there may be an outrider to control the traffic. And it's not unusual in Barbados to see the Prime Minister driving himself or herself, in the case of the current Prime Minister, Mia Motley. I myself have seen her just driving any of the vehicles reserved for the Prime Minister. Quite a different reality here in Trinidad in terms of the effect of crime, which, as you can see from our drives, isn't as bad as people make it seem. Last night we were taking a drive through certain neighborhoods. There's a lot of development of the road here, that's why you see those barriers. Road is being worked on. We took some drives through some of the neighborhoods to look at the Christmas lights, and so many homes had open front doors, people walking around and just enjoying Christmas in the safety of their homes, not living as prisoners in their homes, but as human beings just enjoying life. That's not to say that crime is not out of control in the country, but it is not as crazy as you would think if you followed the happenings in Trinidad and Tobago from the news outlets. Another lovely view with the descending and ascending road. Extreme green to the left and right. And this part of the highway is 2-lane. As we make our way along the Sir Solomon Hochoy Highway. And as many cars as you're seeing, you can believe this is a public holiday, and this is very, very light. On Christmas Eve it was bumper to bumper traffic, and traffic in Trinidad is like no other traffic. Spend hours in it. How long have we been going? So we've done 1 hour driving. Just for comparison, if you were to drive for 1 hour in Barbados, that would, oh, look to the right there, you can see this is Pointe-à-Pierre. If we drove for 1 hour in Barbados, most of the videos, the drives that we do are about an hour, just over an hour. We haven't even reached our destination, so that's to show you how large it is. So a bit about Pointe-à-Pierre. Pointe-à-Pierre was a town that was, oh, and to the left here you can see Gasparillo. Gasparillo is another town in Trinidad that is, it's a Spanish name, but of course it's not pronounced with a Spanish accent. It's pronounced English, so Gasparillo, and it's a small town, again about somewhere between 12 and 20,000 people. Just a, it has its own history, but it's just one of the towns that you encounter on the way to the city of San Fernando. In fact, you can see the hills far off. So Pointe-à-Pierre, I was saying, is a town that was created for the oil workers. So the only oil refinery in Trinidad and Tobago, that area was created with homes and schools, country club, yacht club, all kinds of things. Down there was a very exclusive area. If you look to the left, you'll see the Brian Lara Cricket Academy. So Pointe-à-Pierre, you had exclusivity clubs and homes and so on created just for the people who worked on the oil refinery. Some lovely homes as well, and you could have just made a little life there. It was like its own little town, and the point is to be made, that's the Brian Lara Academy on the left there. The point is to be made is that it was very exclusive, and oil was king. So to work in oil meant that one tended to be rather affluent, and to live and work in Pointe-à-Pierre in its time was seen as a position of privilege. Unfortunately, the oil refinery was shut down, and that's a whole political thing again, and its whole racism, but we won't get into that. Needless to say though, there's a lot of talk about re-establishing the refinery, but for now it's just defunct. So if you turn to the left, it would take you to Palmyra Village and Brian Lara Cricket Academy. We are staying on the highway though to take you down into San Fernando. But if you saw that sign, this turn off here, South Park, this is where, for those who know Trinidad, this is new highway. Here, look, a car run off the side. See? A car on the side. This is new, so where we could have turned left there, that road naturally went to the left, and you went straight into San Fernando. But the highway over the years has been extended that you could have one straight drive all the way down. Still Sir Solomon Hochoy Highway. Look at the nice little homes to the left, very simple. You saw the car. Yeah. And you can see these signs there in Trinidad are always in English and Spanish. Well, not always, but typically in English and Spanish, especially in Port of Spain. And to the right is the famous C3 Mall. I hope the camera is picking it up. It's a very large facility, the largest mall in the Caribbean. This road is taking us into St. Madeleine. C3 Center to the right, we've just passed it. That's the turnoff on the left to get it. see it says C3 Center. So we pulled off the highway. You can look at this view here. Look at the view across there. The highway continues. San Fernando. This old neighborhood now on Corinth Link Road. If you look straight ahead there to the left, you can see the San Fernando Hills. Boxing Day is a big day for shopping. This is a back entrance for C3 Mall. Largest mall in the Caribbean. Very, very big facility. So that's back to the highway. You can see all over there. Just turning here around this little roundabout so that you can see a bit of the impressive mall. There's a movie town as well. We passed movie town when we started this drive, just after the stadium, and when we exited Maraval Parkway and entered the Audrey Jeffers Highway, there was a movie town. So this is a very large mall with its own movie town. C3 Center, there's the entrance. See how full this car park is. Everybody doing last minute shopping, and of course there is Boxing Day sales, so you get great discounts. If you don't mind giving people their Christmas gifts late, you can wait until Boxing Day and then get everything slashed, half price and so on. Bit more of it. This is a very large facility with a Burger King drive-thru as well. C3 Mall, C3 Center. So that's the exit, northbound. Back to the highway. On the Sir Solomon Hochoy Highway. you can use that road to make your way back to Port of Spain. And we are now turning left to continue our drive. So we just made that detour there to showcase the C3 Mall. Of course, there's another one here, South Park, another large mall to the left, but we won't venture into that one. And this is the Tarouba Link Road, and for any cricket fans, the name Tarouba should ring a bell. It's home of the Brian Lara Cricket Academy. So because of the Brian Lara Cricket Academy, that little village became quite popular. In San Fernando now, or just about approaching San Fernando. And there's the sign. Welcome to the city of San Fernando. So that's our mission today, to take you into San Fernando. And you can see we are at the red light, so we'll just take a pause till we can go again. Green light now. So this is the St. Joseph Road. And the thing about San Fernando is that it is very hilly. So you can see here we're going down and then we're going up again. And that's the story of San Fernando. San Fernando is not a town, it's not a village, it's a city. So there are two cities in Trinidad. There's Port of Spain and San Fernando. This is London Street. San Fernando was previously like a borough, because you know Trinidad is basically run by local government. There we see the San Fernando Hill ahead of us. When you see that, you know you're in the belly of San Fernando. So of course in Trinidad there's central government, which is the government everyone knows, and then of course there is local government. So all of the constituencies are broken up into these regional corporations, and there are boroughs and different politically structured areas, and you have boroughs. And of course San Fernando was originally a borough, and it was made a city, its status was elevated to a city in the 1980s because it has all of the distinguishing features to be designated a city, and that was a big thing back in those days because it was a whole big push to have San Fernando given that same status as Port of Spain. So in the 1980s that was achieved, and now there are 2 cities in Trinidad. This is one. So just like Port of Spain, you have residential areas, political centers, the late and in Parliament, apart from local government, in the Parliament itself, San Fernando, like Tobago, has 2 seats, San Fernando East and San Fernando West. And the late Prime Minister Patrick Manning was a member of Parliament for San Fernando. I can't remember if it was East or West. Road they call Pointe-à-Pierre Road. Very narrow and steep. This is the main street in San Fernando. I see a sign there saying Shorty Street, but I know that as Pointe-à-Pierre Road. And this is High Street. So this is the main street in San Fernando. Just like how you have Frederick Street, Broad Street. We'll try to go around again. Try not to let that music get into the sound because it will cause copyright issues. See, look, it says Shorty Street. That's the steep road that we just went down. Street now, and of course when you see names, like if you can see that building to the left with an H on it, that's a hospital, and it has a heliport and everything, I believe. So if you see names like St. James Street, that shows you the religious aspect. So right on to the right here is Victoria Street, That's the British influence. And then St. James Street, you have the religious influence. And as you know, Trinidad is a very Catholic country, so you tend to find a lot of religious references. A bit of a stoppage here. We might need to pause if this doesn't move. Okay. We don't like to use up too much time in traffic. These people taking their time, sweet time, to come out their vehicles because everybody's shopping. Carlton Center, a little plaza area, call it a mall if you want, but not quite a mall. It has a food court and everything. But this is downtown San Fernando essentially, and they could have stopped, but they choose to stop lower down, so we will have to pause again. Just had to wait for this lady. She wants to go into Jay's toy box, so she saw the traffic stop and then she let it drive a few seconds and then she stopped again. Parking for Jay's toy box on the left there. Clearly that is for Christmas shopping, because I don't know why anybody will be going there on a Boxing Day. But a good example of the effect of Christmas. Millions of dollars being spent. This on the left here, you see it says Maxi Taxi only. So that's a taxi stand, and you can see the color of the Maxi is green. So the Maxis have different colors depending on the location. There's brown, black, red, green, blue, yellow. Big Republic Bank building here. We exit St. James Street, if we may. Okay, here we go. That's another taxi stand there. And right ahead of us is the multi-level hospital. You can see how tall it is, probably taller than the Central Bank of Barbados. Very, very tall facility. Right ahead of us there is the hospital. So left is onto High Street, and this is Hollis Street, and you can see this parking. San Fernando Teaching Hospital. Very, very large facility. And that brings us to the end of today's drive. We'll just find a little park on this side here, just to stop and end the video to say thank you on behalf of my son and on my own behalf. Thank you for spending this hour and 25 minutes with us as we drive today on the 25th of December 2025, as we broadcast from the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. We end today's drive just around Independence Avenue, Irving Street, San Fernando. Well, actually we are right here at Court Street, and we want to say thank you very much for your support. We've now crossed 3,000 subscribers. Let's keep going. Thank you. Please share these videos with your friends and your family. Please like our videos as well so that it can spread across your network. And it's always nice when you can leave comments for us so that we will know how to improve what we're doing. It is now 11:55. Happy Christmas and Happy New Year, because by the time this video is broadcast, we'll be in 2025. Until next time.